went to his normal time.
Anyway,
So now I woke up.
now you're tired.
I'm tired, yeah.
Now you've done it. So, you have enough light here?
Don't drop more.
Yeah, I know. I can't get my wife to agree to more.
You shouldn't have any light bulbs.
Yeah, I know. She doesn't like it. She wants it to be nice and romantic. Okay.
Chacun son goût.
יופי.
כמו שכוסף אל השם, ויראה לנו שהוא במכינס אור אין סוף. Somewhere around about there.
כן. where?
בוא נתחיל.
כי הנה כתיב, ירא השם פניו.
ירא השם פניו אליך.
שהוא עניין.
ערד
י"ג מידות.
שיהיה פנים בפנים. דהיינו, שיהיה גילוי פנימיוס רצוני יסבורך. באיזה connection with גילוי פנימיוס רצוני יסבורך?
So we talked yesterday about the fact that when you talk about the pnimius,
Yeah.
panim bepanim really is to reveal the inner aspect of the person who's looking at you. So in this case it's a Shem, and the panim is the shlosa midot hachamim. What you see in the face is the beard. And even these two, it's called Shin Ayin Hey Orot Sheba Panim, where Yeshua comes from, where how do you say salvation without using the Christian word?
Salvation is a very good English word.
Okay, it has a Christian connotation. In any case, Yeshua comes from there, from the Panim. When you see the Pnei Melech, in fact, O Pnei Melech equals Shin Ayin Hey, I'm not mistaken. So that's what seeing Hashem's face as a word is seeing His ratzon, is seeing what He wants. To see the face is to see that it's also individual. So you're looking at a person. Otherwise, when you're not looking at the king's face, it's just an idea of the king. So the idea is general. It's the same for everybody. But when Hashem shows you His face, He's showing you His ratzon for you, specifically for you.
But if I sit and talk to you, and you tell me, all the deepest, innermost secrets of your heart, revealing things, that you wouldn't like to say to anybody else. Love Dafka that I need to look at you in order to do that. You can be sitting here and I can be sitting there, right? So if Hashem is coming close to us and we're talking to Hashem, why does it have to be we're actually looking at Hashem, so to speak?
First of all, that's what people call it, a face-to-face. A face-to-face means that from my heart to your heart. Really, that's what we mean. We don't mean to say that it's the external aspect of the face. But somehow it has to go through being able, at least in potential, to look at one another's faces. It could be that I'm so embarrassed that I don't look up. But I have the potential to look. What am I embarrassed from? And if I would be just on the phone and only talking, because I could look anywhere, I don't care. But the moment that the other person's presence is here, so that's the face. The face is here. So the presence really is not the projection of what the person thinks or says or wants. It's he himself. That's the presence. That's the presence that causes the conversation to be deep enough to get to those levels. So he says that's what it means. Ya'er Hashem panav elecha. That He'll show you specifically what He wants from you. For a lot of reasons, it looks like, as usual, they've been doing this for ages, and now they're more and more connected to the Eastern philosophies. But Europe is going more and more in the direction of Hashem being impersonal. And impersonal in the sense...
Europe doesn't believe in Hashem.
You can't not believe in Hashem at all. You have to have some meaning in your life. It's just that they're beginning to believe that they're like animals. Meaning, I'm not saying that they're not human, but they're all the same, really. They're all different iterations of the same thing. And by Jews, it's not like that. The whole thing that Yiddishkeit is fighting for.
All Jews keeping the Torah mitzvahs.
I'll give you one example. They cremate. What does cremation say? Cremation says that obviously when we have a body, we're different and separate. Because the body is separate between us. So my needs are not your needs, and so on. After the person passes away, so they say the soul's departed. The soul doesn't have an individualized experience, really. It's all one. It's just one thing. So all the people in the world are just one thing. The body.
That's only the Muslim, that's not the Muslim.
The Muslim are even worse.
They don't cremate.
They don't cremate, but they mamish don't believe in any kind of individual. They lost that a long time ago. That's why they have no problem killing themselves. They don't have a feeling of self, really. Their whole subjective experience is completely different. Not all Muslims. It's not in Islam. It's more the
Arabs.
Even not all the Arabs. I'm not sure that the Saudi princes feel that way. It depends on how much they've met the West. In any case, the interesting thing is that in the end they cremate. Why? Because they don't want there to be any memory of there being something individual, something separate. That's the idea. By Yidden, there's this whole thing which a lot of people attack now, which is, why do you need a separate grave for each person? What for? Even when you're talking about that it's for the family, say that. So how long does the family need a grave? For 50 years, 60, 70, 80, no, after 80 years nobody remembers. Nobody knows who the person was. A great-grandfather, who cares? Nobody's going to visit the grave, and it doesn't mean anything to anybody. There's a few select individuals that they're very special. It's sort of like how the Rambam saw Ashgacha Pratis. At least how people say he saw it. That if you're a very special individual, here's there's Ashgacha Pratis. How do you know? Because you see that people go to your tziyun even 1,000 years after you passed away. And people knew where Moshe Rabbeinu was buried, then we would go. We know where Aaron Cohen is buried, so we go. So the moment that there's somebody who's that great, who stands out as an individual, okay, so now there's Ashgacha Pratis, now there's divine providence over the individual. But in general, all the people, it would seem that it's a waste. But Yiddishkeit fights for it. It says, I don't have to know the name. I don't have to put a matzeva on it. It doesn't have to be a specific name somewhere. But the burial is done separately. If in the end, after a year, 10 years, 20 years, 80 years, you take all the bones and you put them together with somebody else, it's not a big deal. But you have to retain it. You have to retain the individuality at some level. Why? Because in the spiritual, it's that way also. Because the neshamas, each one has a separate source. That's what we say, 600,000 roots of neshamot. And the whole point being that each neshama has a different part in the Torah.
But you're giving the Goyim credit that actually...
thinking about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking about it. Not everybody, but the thinkers are thinking. You know, it used to be that...
I don't even know one thinker in the non-Jewish world.
In the Jewish world?
Non-Jewish world.
Oh, there's plenty. There's just very simple people now. It's not coming from very high thoughts. Or maybe it's trickling down. I'm not sure. In any case, there are people who are stating this in a way that everybody understands. And that, in the end, is what they adopt. The religion is very simple. And you could say by us also, the religion is very simple. In the end, what people understand is very low. But it's not true. Everybody goes to a serious year once in a while. They hear something. They know that all these books, they contain something. But again, there's no such books. What great book of thought can they point to? So the thinking trickles down, and in the end, they have the simple statement of it. And the simple statement came out as cremation. That's the tachlis. I don't have to have any kind of individuality after I pass away, because there is no individuality really. But what do we say about the?
I think you're giving them credit for what they haven't got credit for.
Okay.
I think that it's based on a simple philosophy called money. Land costs money.
Yeah,
So therefore,
so
in
much
order to
land.
save land, well, get rid of all the bothers, that's all. The graveyards stand in the way of trains and roads and, and buildings and schools.
Okay, maybe. In any case,
Maybe it stems from the fact that they don't think there is any value in the bodies.
can.
So therefore, there's no point in
But by Yidden, the fact that a person did a mitzvah, the fact that he learned Torah, that becomes his individuality. That is his individuality. Therefore, a Jew, there's no Jew who doesn't do mitzvahs.
But every Jew does the same mitzvahs, so why do you call it
Separately,
individuality?
the conditions are completely different. They do it in a different way with a different feeling. Okay? But the mitzvahs that's the greatness of the mitzvah, that they have the capability of making something infinite, of giving infinite meaning to what somebody does. In any case, so panim bepanim, that Hashem shows you panim bepanim, is to say that He shows you your particular task in this world.
He was like Yechidus.
Okay, it's like Yechidus was the Yechidus was in order to figure out what am I working on, what in this whole puzzle called life is really the main thing, what's not so main, so central. Of course, all the mitzvot are important, but a person has something that has to be the core of how he's living. Yeah. Like by the Rebbe, it became to help other people. It wasn't the thing he thought he would do. He thought he would do something else. But he ended up finding himself that this is his mission. And so he spent every waking moment doing it. And everything revolved around that. Okay. So that's like ha'arat panim. That's called the light of the face.
So the Rebbe showed that same face also to non-Jews.
Okay, why not? And the Rebbe was a big believer in evolution. There's no reason why a goy can't convert. And if he converts, he's now faced with the need to find personal meaning, with the need to find eternal personal meaning, not just meaning at the moment. So all this is to find ikar pnimiyut ritzono elav yitbarach. So Hashem shows me the pnimiyut of His ratzon. He shows me His particular will for me, what He wants for me, and that awakens in me the same feeling that the main part of my will is dedicated to what Hashem wants. לדבקה בו בלב הנפש מעומקא דליבא במסירת נפש, כמו שמובא במקום אחר. והערה זו היא נמשכת מבחינת כל, שהוא ראשית כל הי"ג למידות ומקורן וכללותן. So this, the will, right, usually we say chesed, okay? That kel is chesed, but really it's rav chesed. And rav chesed is in arich, it's in the ratzon. What's the idea here? The idea is that, we've talked about this in the past, that chesed, which is kel, is ahava, is love. The inner experience of chesed is to have love for something. What's the source of love? So we look at it linguistically, that the four letters ahava, aleph, hey, bet, hey, they have a root. What's the root? The usual root is aleph, hey, bet, ahav. But there's another root hiding there in ahava, and it's really the two-letter root also of aleph, hey, bet, and that's ava, which is the two-letter root is aleph, bet, av, to want. That's what it means. So a person who feels chesed is in fact experiencing the end result of having will, of having some want. I love because I want. In the end, the will is what gives me the power of love. That's why a lot of times people mistake will for love even. And they say, that just as will can overcome everything, so can love. Love can also overcome everything. It's not exactly true. It's the power of will within love that can overcome everything. But love by itself doesn't have that meaning. If I just took the love by itself without going back to its source and will, it wouldn't be as strong. In any case. So it comes out from the first word, the first attribute of the 13 attributes of compassion. And it's the source of the rest of the other 12 midos, the other 12 attributes of compassion. And that's why we said before that the lights of the face are hinted in the phrase Ol Pnei Kel, the light of the face of Kel. And to say the face of Kel, so again in English, face usually, and also in Hebrew, people will usually associate it with the external aspect of the face, whereas really the word means, especially in Hebrew, panim is the pnim, is the inner source. So when I say the inner source of the light that comes out from a person's face, really it's his will. And that's again, what's the idea? The idea that there's what we call love at first sight, which is a natural type of love, which is chemistry type of love. There's something about pheromones and other things attract a person to something. It could be to another person, it can be to something else, something in what they call today eye candy. That's all external love. The inner type of love always starts with will. It always starts with an expression that I want something. And that's why it lasts. And that's why it really has the power to overcome everything. Because I want to love my wife. I want to love my children. Not like what he says in Igel Kodesh in Tet, that not to love your wife and your children because of natural love. I'm not saying don't have natural love at all, but don't stop there. You have to find the inner motivation for love. And the inner motivation for love is will. So you have to want to love. You can't just expect things to just happen by themselves. It can't just be natural. Anyway, this is all called kel. This all comes out from the first midah, the first attribute of 13 measures of compassion. Shehu b'chinat or ein sof baruch hu atzmo mamash. And kel also represents the infinite light itself. כמו שכתוב, כי הוויה אלוקיך אש אוכלהו. Because Hashem, your God, is like burning fire. And the idea here is פירוש כמו למשל זיו ואור האש היוצא מן האש עצמו, שבכללותו אין בו שום התחלקות בינו לזיו ואור הנמשך ממנו. כך כביכול להארת הפנים אומר לכללות ישראל הוא בחינת כל שהוא בחינת אור אין סוף ברוך הוא עצמו ממש. And in general, the mashal here is like that the light, I don't know why he doesn't use the sun as an example here. Here he uses that the light that comes out, or the light that comes out of a fire, because the pasuk says eshochla. So the light that comes out of the fire, when it's in the fire, it's still one thing with the fire. You can't separate it. So it contains everything. So the same thing, kel here is a general principle. It's not just the first one. It's the first general principle out of which all the others follow. That's the idea that's brought in Zohar many times, that chesed goes with all the midot. Really, all these midot, these are really attributes of the heart, but at the level of arich, at the level of will. So in any case, the bottom line here is that when you grab kel, you've understood everything. When you understand the chesed of Hashem, meaning when you connect with the chesed of Hashem, with the love of Hashem, the kel, so you really grabbed all the other midos inside it. You have all the other attributes included, inter-included inside. I want to say what's an example of this. An example of this is that we know that the 13 principles of mercy, these 13 attributes, they correspond one-to-one with the 13 principles by which the Torah is learned, according to Rabbi Yishmael. So what's the first principle according to Rabbi Yishmael? It's kal v'chomer. So Kal v'chomer is the general midah of learning Nigla, of learning Torah. The major and minor argument is the most general Torah logic argument that there is. The sages, for them, that's the main thing. And if you haven't mastered major and minor arguments, Kal v'chomer, you can't understand anything that comes afterwards. Because they're all based in the end on this ability to see gradation, levels of chumrah, of how something is heavier or lighter than something else. Okay? So in that sense, the Kal v'chomer includes all 13 principles of logic in Torah learning. The same way that in the measures of compassion, the Kel includes all 13. He said. ולכן נקראים ישראל מלשון שר kel. And so that's why Am Yisrael is called by this name, which really means the master of kel.
What is it called, Yisrael?
That's what Yisrael means.
Ah, Yisrael, okay.
The word Yisrael itself is sar kel, the master of kel. ולכן נקראים ישראל מלשון שר kel. והיוד מורה על התמדת הפעולה, כמו ככה יעשה. So he says Yisrael is like that they're always the master of kel. The Yud changes it to be a present perfect, I guess. I don't know, it's present continuous, I don't know what to call it. Okay. But it's like an act, it turns it into there's a way, maybe a gerund is the right word. I think gerund is the word. When you turn an adjective into a verb.
I don't even know what an adjective is.
It's one of those parts of speech. Okay? ופירוש שבחינת כל הוא שר ומושל בקרבו. So what this kel, the Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, they're masters of it. They rule over it. דהיינו, שיש בכל נפש מישראל ניצוץ אלוקות ממש המכהן נפשו אלוקית ומושך בטבעו למעלה לאור באור החיים למסור נפשו אליו יתברך. And what this translates into is that the whole purpose of being a Jew is to find that place in myself where there's a spark of a divinity that's yearning, it wants, it has tremendous will, it has tremendous love for Hashem, and it's willing to do everything for Hashem. That's the goal of this whole meditation in the end. Is that when I see the king, we said, I want to be with you. I want to be one of your people. It's the whole point of the Elul, that I want to be included. When does the fireworks begin? On Rosh Hashanah. Then the king is made the king of the world, and so on, and you become part of it. But the whole point in Elul is to feel the yearning that I have in me to be part of this, to be part of your kingdom, part of the people that work for you. כי על ידי החוכמה והדעת לא היה משיג בחינה זו לבטל ולהפקיר את עצמו מכל וכל בשבילו יתברך. And it's important that this kel, it comes from midot הרחמים, which again are from the keter. They're from above the logic of the person, they're above the rational mind. They have to come from will. Will is above the rational mind. And there are yearning that's above the rational mind. Because if it was based on rationalism, my wisdom and my knowledge, in the end I wouldn't be able to cast myself away in order to connect to Hashem. And that's what it means, Banim atem l'Hashem Elokechem. That's what it means when it says that you are the sons of Hashem. Why? What's the big deal? He says, I can teach Torah to anybody. I can even teach a horse Torah. Rabbi Pinchas Ben Yair's donkey knew not to eat from food that wasn't meiser. So you can teach an animal also. That's not the point. The point is, does he yearn for it? Is he willing to give up everything he has in order to learn? That point of will, which is beyond the rational mind, which is beyond all my revealed qualities, it comes from the very essence of my will, That's what it means to be a son of somebody's son. Why? Because we talked about this in the past. The Tanya gives an example. He says that I can teach anybody knowledge. Sense of the mind that's above what you know and what you think and what you experience.
So Hashem itself.
Hmm?
But the power of thought also comes from Hashem.
Okay. So the power of thought, this power to be part of the king, to come and say, I want to be with you, that's what it means to be a son. Because he gave me his will. He gave me, the will is also the power of thought. The power of thought itself. Not the thoughts, but the power of thought. It's koach hamaskil. Another, we said, machastima, which is the source of all the will and everything, is also called the koach hamaskil. So, to be a son of somebody means that he gave me his power of. That's the only thing that a father. Sorry, that's the thing that only a father can give a son, and no teacher, no matter how good he is, can ever give it to somebody else. You can never give the power of thought itself. You can give methods of thinking, all the knowledge in the world, and so on, but you can't give the essence of what it means to have the power of thought. So that's considered to be a son. That's something that only a father can give his son. Okay?
So why do so many fathers and sons end up not speaking to each other?
Because he's already thinking by himself. He doesn't need his father. They don't agree on the thought. They don't see the power of thought. The power of thought is too concealed for most people to be able to see the affinity. Meaning, they don't see that they're actually thinking exactly the same. They came to different conclusions, but they're thinking exactly the same way. They came to different conclusions because what they put into the equation was different. But they're following exactly the same pattern of thought. If somebody would be able to sit with them for a little bit of time, they'd see that given the difference in circumstances, accounting for the difference in circumstance between the father and the son, they're actually exactly identical in many ways. They're doing exactly the same thing with their mind. And they actually want the same things even, because it translates into will. It's just that they translate this will into practice in different ways. So let's just finish this piska, this paragraph. What does it mean? Because really, he is like an extension of the father's will. By the way, that's why parents make the mistake, especially fathers, make the mistake that they know what their son should want.
They know what their son should want, or they want their son to want the same as them. But that doesn't mean that's what he should want.
What he should want. When he doesn't want the same thing that they think that he should want, because that's what they want, so they get into a mess. But really, he does want the same thing. It's just that in his mind, it translates in a different way. Or you could say also that you gave him the power of want and not what to want. So you should be pleased that he wants something. When he doesn't want anything at all, then you're wondering, so how is he my son? Because I want something. But when I look at myself, I see my power of will very weak. So I'm not surprised when I have a child who doesn't have a very strong willpower. I am surprised when I have a child who has a lot of willpower. It amazes me.
You have no willpower? Why do you say that?
Relative to what I could be doing, I don't use it. If I have it, I don't use it. I'm working at 5%, something like that. I think maybe 20. Each person knows where he's holding. So when I look at my son and I see one of them, he's schlepzich. He's not very different than his father. He's also a schlepper.
Who's the one who's sick?
It's a little one. He's not really sick. He hasn't been able to sleep for some reason. So I let him sleep. I'm taking like an hour. Okay, let's just finish this. There's no reasoning behind this, why the willpower comes from the same source, from the father to the son. It's like the foot, the way the foot is nullified before the mind's will. שבטל לגבי ראש ואין לו רצון שלו בכלל. That's what they tried to express in this parable, that the son is like the thigh of the father. And they're trying to say that he's like his foot in the sense that the will comes from the same source, and the thigh doesn't have its own source of will. And this is what it means when we now take it back to Hashem. Again, we're banim atem laHashem Elokechem. We're sons of Hashem. So it means that we have the same will, and therefore, therefore it makes sense that we can nullify our will to match with Hashem's will, because really it's the same will. He has to take away all the things that his will is attached to in this world, and drop them, and look and see, what does Hashem really want from me? Which, as the Rebbe said many times, is the same question as asking, what do I really want for myself? If you want to know what Hashem wants from you, you have to ask the question about yourself. You have to ask, what do I really want? The Rebbe said this many times. That's how you uncover it. We're not talking about the fact that you have to put on tefillin and so on. We're not talking about the mitzvahs in the occupational sense. We're talking about, what do you want to do with these mitzvahs? Where are you going? What do you want to achieve in life, and so on. So he said, if you want to understand that, you have to ask yourself the question seriously of, what do you really want? I told you a story about Rabbi Sachs.
Possibly.
He was he had divorced in Eretz Yisrael, and then he went back to America, and he was in Chicago. Okay. And for a long time he was writing the Rebbe, what should I do? What should I do? He got an offer to be a shaliach somewhere. He also got an offer to go to do a shidduch somewhere. He didn't know what to do, and he wrote the Rebbe over months, time and time again. The Rebbe never answered. Then he called up Rabbi Yitzchak, and he said, the Rebbe is not answering. What should I do? So he said, to me, the Rebbe always said, you have to first think what you really want. So he took the advice, and he said he sat down for a few hours, and he thought really hard, what do I really want? And he came to the conclusion that the first thing he wants to do is he wants to remarry. And when he came to that conclusion, the guy came around with a mail. There's a letter from the Rebbe. That's how he tells the story. He opens the letter, and inside the Rebbe says, you need to, first of all, get remarried.
Same day. Express delivery.
Express delivery. Anyway, say that.